YouTube, it is your favorite game here above Average Cody, coming at you with a highly requested winter update video. My current controller settings. We got a lot of new viewers here on the channel. It's been a while since we've done a controller update, so today I'm going to give you guys all of my current controller settings, and I'm going to give you guys a couple changes that I personally do not want to make, but I may or may not recommend for the winter update changes, especially to the BR. Now, first off, guys, couple tidbits of knowledge. Everybody asks these, and I forget to leave them out of my controller settings videos. First off, I have an Xbox Elite Series 2. I love it. I use all 4 paddles. I have a setup video on the channel in the controller settings playlist. My FOV is at 97, and all of my gun offsets, I believe, are negative 100 for everything. So we'll get that out of the way first. Now let's dive right into the more important settings. I believe we're going to start off here with the dead zones and stuff, whatever comes up first. So sensitivity and acceleration, guys. Look acceleration, I run at a 2. My horizontal sense is at a 6, and my vertical sense is at a 6.5. Now, I tinkered around with a lot of different sensitivities before I fell onto one that I really loved. Personally, around 6 works for me. I used to run lower with a higher look acceleration, but what I actually did was lowered my look acceleration because I found closer range gunfights with the lower FOV and lower look accel. It feels amazing. It feels like you get a lot more aim assist, and I have a much easier time in the 1v1 strafe battles and things like that with it set up this way, because with a lower look acceleration, I can be a little heavier on the right stick. I do play with a raised right stick, so I can be a little heavier on the right stick and the aim without being penalized too much for it and over-aiming. Now, as I mentioned, I think when I started playing this game, I was at like 4 sensitivity in my first controller settings video, guys. I'm actually up since then because, again, with the lower look acceleration, you generally want to run a higher sensitivity so that you don't get that slow turn when you are jumping and turning around. You know, say, I don't know, you're on a point and you got to turn around really quick. If I were still on the 4 sense with the low look acceleration, guys, it would be like a very slow turn, and it would be impossible to turn on people, especially in the Diamond and the Onyx lobbies. So that is why with the lower look accel, I'm now at 6 and 6.5. I do not intend to change this anytime soon. I really do like it. I'm going to come back to this setting towards the end of the video, guys, after I run through all of the values that I have in my settings personally. Zoom sensitivity, guys, everything is default at 1. That's just what I prefer. I never changed it when I started playing the game. I think everything feels really good the way it is, and I find that once you start changing this setting, you kind of start to screw with your muscle memory and what you are used to. So if you have never changed these settings, guys, unless you feel like one scope is like way too off, like too fast, too slow for your playstyle or your controller setup, then by all means, feel free to change this to whatever's comfortable. But general rule of thumb, guys, I tell everybody, just leave it all default. It gives you one flat landscape to get used to, and your muscle memory can stay as true to it as possible. Now, the stuff that people are really interested in, all the dead zone stuff, guys, I have all of my trigger dead zones default. I would only change these in a situation where you can't use the guns properly. So if you have a gun jamming, like you pull the trigger and it doesn't shoot, then you mess with your inner dead zones, because that is when it registers your trigger pulling. Because if you are having jamming issues outside of the BR, guys, because I do believe that is a game issue from 343, outside of having a gun not shooting, I really would not ever change these, because you shouldn't have to. I've had no issue with the defaults, and I run trigger stops, which again, the other instance I would change the outer dead zones, guys, is if you cannot charge the plasma pistol or keep the commando fully automatic with the trigger pulled down. I've had both of these issues in the past with another controller. If you had those issues, you would have to raise your outer dead zone lower than 100% so that it can register the max input, which is when you have the trigger pushed all the way down. So other than that, guys, leave them default. I have them default. On my Series 2, I have the trigger stops halfway, and I have 0 issues with the default trigger dead zone settings. Now, guys, the move thumbstick center dead zone I have at 5.5, max input at 15, axial I have at 0. Now, I know a lot of you are wondering, why isn't my center dead zone at 0? I get stick drift on. I got it when this controller was brand new, and I still have it ever so slightly depending on how the stick settles in. I can't get it. Oh, there we go. Got it drifting for you there for a second, but then it stopped. So I have it at 5.5 because that stops the drift. Now, I'm sure if I put my axial up, I could get this to 0 with the same amount of drift, But frankly, I set it at those, and I just like it that way. For some reason, I'm used to the axial being at 0, center dead zone at 5.5, and frankly, it's the move thumbstick, so you can ham fist it all you want, and you don't really notice any fine like movements like you would on the look thumbstick. Now max input 15, guys. I feel this gives me the fastest strafe and the fastest reaction time on the left stick. Obviously, strafing and moving, a very important part of Halo Infinite gunfights. A lot of people swear by putting that all the way down to 0, but trust me, guys, if you doubt me on 15 being the fastest, put it all the way down to 0. Put it all the way up to 15, and you tell me which is faster. If you feel like 0 is faster, guys, by all means put it on, but from experience, I love 15. I have no intent to change it from 15, and some people say the max value makes strafing too hard to hit bullets because you're strafing too fast. No, guys, just put it on 15 if you want the fastest strafe. If you want a slower strafe, turn that value down. I think default is like, what, 12, 11.5? Default is 10. But I prefer 15, guys, for the move thumbstick. Now, finally, the look thumbstick, guys. I do have the 0 center dead zone for the look. The max input at 0 because it makes the variation a little slower. There we go. Lower value increases the variance in the acceleration curve because you want more of an acceleration curve with the look thumbstick. So if you only move it a little bit, it doesn't move a lot. You know what I mean? Because that's basically what max input does, is it lowers the area you have to move the stick to register the max input, which is why it's called max input threshold. Axial dead zone, guys, I run at 6. It just makes it, I don't know, it makes it feel good. I don't have a fantastic explanation for axial, but as you can see here, I have axial at 6. I have the center dead zone at 0, and very rarely do I get drift. The only way I get drift is if I rest the stick in like a certain spot. It'll move ever so slightly, but other than that, guys, I don't notice any drift that would severely harm my aim. So 0, 0, and 6 for the look thumbstick. As for keybinds, guys, I like to go over these briefly. The only change I have is I think I have ping. Yeah, ping is up on the D-pad, and I put change grenade to left on the D-pad. I don't use the grenade select because I can't remember them for the life of me. So the only things I use on the D-pad is up, which is the ping, and left, which I used to put on drop weapon, but now that we don't do that no more, as you can see, it's unbound. But I have what is it? Switch grenade on my left D-pad because I can get to it quite quickly. Now, guys, one thing I want to talk about before I let you go, that is obviously all of my controller settings values. If you have any questions, if I didn't explain anything well enough, feel free to ask down in the comments. Now, the only thing I would focus on potentially for the winter update, as this is a winter update specific controller settings video, you may want to consider what I said about the look acceleration and the sensitivity earlier in the video, because now that the BR is a little different and hitting headshot registration is lower, and I'm not even going to bother putting a bot on to show you guys, a lot of times you're going to have to snap up to the head to hit the headshot, as you should have already been doing, but it is much less forgiving now in the game with the new updates to the BR. So if you have trouble when you're snapping up to the head and you are over-aiming, you may want to lower your look excel or your sensitivity ever so slightly. I wouldn't go too much because, again, you don't want to be giving yourself slow turn in those very awkward fights. So just something to think about, guys. Again, if you have a higher look excel, I'd recommend a lower sensitivity. If you have a lower look excel, I recommend a higher sensitivity. That's like the most basic way I can put it. Obviously, there's people who run high on both. There's people who run low on both. The biggest thing about controller settings, guys, is it is whatever is comfortable for you. Do not take every single setting, copy every value I have, and expect it to work, because I promise you, you could talk to 5 other people who are significantly better at the game than me, which is not hard to find people like that, and they have completely different settings. They have completely different things they swear by, and that's just really what it is, guys. It is whatever is comfortable for you as an individual. So again, any questions, guys, feel free to ask down below. Some other simple things I have, guys: step jump I have on, auto clamber I have off, and I do have toggle to crouch. So if I hold it, I'm crouched. If I let it go, I'm standing up rather than. So if you're doing, when you're in like a good straight fight like this, guys, you're not dealing with the multiple button presses. You really want to minimize as many you want as few button presses as possible in gunfights like that. But all right, guys, I think I covered literally everything controller-wise. I'm sure I missed something, and you guys can feel free to ask in the comments. I try to reply to every comment. I've been behind lately, guys, but the channel support's been so crazy that, like, I'm just doing my best to keep up with all y'all. So thank you all for that. But other than that, guys, please subscribe to the channel. A lot of Halo content lately. We're mixing in little tidbits of other things here and there because we don't only do Halo, but I'm trying to compete next year, so we're trying to work as hard as we can on the Halo ranked grind. But all right, guys, subscribe. Leave a like on the video as well. It helps out with the algorithm, and I'm sure a lot of people are looking for controller settings tips with the new winter update and the BR changes. And, of course, guys, I already mentioned, leave a comment. If you have any other interesting controller tidbits of knowledge that maybe everybody doesn't know, feel free to drop in a comment. I'll leave a heart on it so it goes to the top so everybody can read the cool knowledge you have. And then, other than that, guys, super thanks. Channel memberships, don't feel like you have to support monetarily, but it really does help out ever so much if you feel so inclined. But other than that, guys, that does it for me. I hope this video helped you out. Again, any questions, let me know. But other than that, guys, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay tuned for the next video.